Greetings. Mark Rang here, publisher of The Sun, and my guest today is Hollie Noveletsky. Hollie, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. It's
You're
really
running,
an honor.
Yeah, oh, thanks for being here. You're running, you're Republican, and
I
you're
am.
running for the open seat in the first congressional race.
Correct.
So you ran last time.
I did.
Okay, but still, people may not know you as well as they should, so tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, thank you for that opportunity. So my background is quite diverse. I am a owner and CEO of Novel Ironworks, which is a structural steel fabrication company. We do anything from a house beam to the skyscrapers down in Boston. We also have open shop erection throughout New England. I am a nurse practitioner, psychiatric and a geriatric nurse practitioner.
I saw that in your background. So that was before you became CEO, before you...
Yes.
And it's a family business,
It's
right?
a family business. So my dad started the business in 1956 in Massachusetts. And the unions would shut him down every year. And he said, you shut me down one more time, I'm moving to New Hampshire. And they shut him down. And he bought the land in Greenland. We've been up in New Hampshire now 50 years. So
where were you in Massachusetts?
Malden. My father used to say Malden was the pippic of the universe. That's Yiddish for the belly button of the universe. Everything comes from Malden. But I was in and out of the family business, as all the children in the family were, and the cousins and everything. I would start as the blueprint girl. I would start do the errand girl. Then I learned estimating. I did some of the data inputting. But I went to nursing school. And so most of my adult career was spent in nursing, and I did geriatric and psychiatric nurse practitioner. And I combined them to do dementia care for people in long-term care and at home with dementia. And then when my dad passed in '99, I came in full-time into the family business. Also, I'm a veteran. I spent 8 years in the Army Reserve Nurse Corps, 2 years in the New Hampshire National Guard. I've done a tremendous amount of volunteer work as a nurse. I went to Hurricane Sandy, Hurricane Katrina, Oklahoma tornadoes. I've volunteered at Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. And I've done work overseas in Sierra Leone, working with some of the victims of the Blood Diamond War.
Wow.
I went 3 times.
So you don't do that anymore, needless to say.
I have not done that. The last time I was in Sierra Leone was probably around 2012, 2010.
So pretty recently still. And you have and then in your business, full disclosure, you're a tenant.
I am. And I'm thankful for you guys. You've been
appreciate
a wonderful landlord.
So this is, people aren't going to know this, but we have the Berlin Sun, and we have a building there. And Hollie has a crew, a couple of engineers, right? Is that
Detailers, yeah.
Yeah. So what do they do?
So when we get the drawings, when we have a job, and the engineer of record sends us the drawings, they actually design the individual connections of the steel. So
Of the what?
Steel, the connections, where a beam comes into a column.
Okay, got it.
They do the actual connection design, and then we send it back to the engineer for approval.
This is totally off subject from the politics, but how is AI going to affect your business? It seems like that kind of thing.
So I'm going to back up a little bit. So robotics first affected our industry. We've spent millions on the first robotic welding machine in New England. This was 2019, and everyone in the shop was afraid that we were going to be replacing them with robotics, and we kept saying, no, this is to augment you. And it took a good 6 months for people to believe us. And we found that it was not the be-all to end-all, and because we would rather keep our people working than our robot.
How many employees do you have?
Before COVID, we were at 110 in Novel, and then the erection crew was another 40.
Wow.
Since that, we're down to about 80 and 20. But we have never had a layoff in the 70-odd years that we've been in business. 70 this year. We've never had a layoff. So when it comes to keeping a robot busy versus a person busy, we always keep the people busy. And we found that you really can't replace a person, right?
No.
There's something really valuable in our person.
But AI, I mean, even we're using AI here. We're not replacing anybody, but it makes things...
So we've moved from robotics now to looking at AI, and they can still help. There's still something unique about bidding a job that makes my bid different than, say, Stephen Capone's up in Berlin.
Sure.
And it's how our shop puts the steel together. And AI can learn that, but it's still, it's all about what you put in that you get back. The data in, data out, right? Quality of the data, quality in. And the individual nuances of how business is done. So we can use it to augment, to take off a drawing, but somebody still has to put eyes on it.
Okay,
so we're not going to replace.
Let's move on to politics. So you ran before. So why are you running, and what are the issues that are more important to you?
So last time I ran, I think I was like a lot of Americans. I was sitting home. I was very angry about what had happened to my beautiful country under the Biden administration, the open borders, we destabilized the world. I was just very upset. And I thought, this is foolish. I'm yelling at the TV. So either I shut up or step up. And as you see from my background, I'm used to stepping up if I see a need. So I stepped up and I ran. And I did well. I only came in second in the primary to a 25-year veteran of New Hampshire politics, Russell. And then, the administration's changed and President Trump got in, the borders have been shut down, we've got 8 peace accords, I thought, I don't need to run again. Things are being taken care of. But I started to look around and think, what are the real issues here? And it's American workers and the American manufacturing. And that's where I've been for the past 25 years. I have been fighting for the American worker and the American manufacturing for 25 years for Buy American at the state, regional, and national level. And I thought, this is my wheelhouse. This is my opportunity to take the message that our most valuable asset in this country is the American worker. And their work and their jobs need to be defended. And their promise of the American dream needs to be defended. And that's why I decided to continue to run again, because that's where I've been, and I have a 25-year history of fighting.
But how does that translate? I mean, I think we all want to protect American workers. Mm-hmm. It's been for literally decades now, we're losing manufacturing mm-hmm. jobs. In fact, we actually, even under this past year, 2025, mm-hmm. we have fewer manufacturing mm-hmm. jobs than we did the year before. It's sort of this continuous down slope. So what specifically, how do you translate your want of protecting American workers to policy?
Sure.
Like, what does that mean?
So nothing is overnight, right? We have to have that foundational understanding that it takes time. Under NAFTA, in my industry alone, in New England alone, we outsource so much manufacturing. We lost over 40 fabricating companies in New England alone, structural steel fabrication companies. And it's really important that we bring back manufacturing, especially when we're talking about public dollars spent. So in my industry, every dollar spent on construction, $1.50 gets reinvested into the community by the respending. In general manufacturing, every public dollar that's spent on manufacturing, $2.64 gets reinvested in the community by downstream spending. I pay my workers, they go to the grocery store, they go bowling, that dollar gets respent and respent. And we need to make sure our public dollars, which are our tax dollars, because government doesn't make money, right? They take your money and then they give you a little bit back and say, oh, here's some money. Our public dollars are meant to support our community. When we buy something that's foreign, that money gets reinvested in the community, our foreign community. So we really need to make sure. So how do we do this? One, I support the tariffs, because the tariffs are meant as a carrot or a stick, depending on which side of the string you're on, to bring our trade partners back to the negotiation table to renegotiate our trade agreements. Because we all believe in fair free trade, but it has to be fair. And our trade agreements have not been fair. It has allowed for the outsourcing and underselling of our manufacturing.
So I'm just going to interrupt about the other side of the tariffs is that most conservatives up until Trump were always against tariffs. Mm-hmm. And if you read the Wall Street Journal daily, they're against tariffs. So the idea of having tariffs is not universally accepted by conservatives.
Yes.
But you.
I believe in them. I do believe in the tariffs. I do believe that we need to renegotiate our trade agreements. Once our trade agreements are renegotiated, I believe that those tariffs will become surgically applied. Granted, this is a worldwide, this is a world economy. And there are certain industries that we will never be get back because we'll never be able to be competitive. For instance, garments. But there are certain industries that need to be protected because not only are they the opportunity for advancement of jobs and wages for our workers, but they're also national security. And we need to bring those back. So tariffs to help renegotiate our trade agreements. Once the trade agreements are renegotiated, we surgically apply the tariffs. Then we also need to make sure that manufacturing comes back. So when we want to encourage manufacturing to come back, we have to look at the tariffs again and say, we're not going to tariff your equipment. I mean, if you were printing overseas and you want to bring your printing machine back, we shouldn't tariff you for bringing that in, right? We should exempt that. We need to look at how these tariffs are applied. We want to bring back American manufacturing. If we can grow manufacturing, we grow opportunities, we grow wages, we grow salaries, like I said, wages, and we grow tax base. It's a win-win-win.
But the tariffs are a tax. I mean, 90% of the tariffs that have been paid by the importers, us, and it's passed on to consumers. So the other side.
Well, they haven't been really passed on at this point. We have not seen that, and we need to renegotiate those trade agreements. For instance,
but like the NAFTA agreement was negotiated. I mean, many presidents have negotiated a NAFTA agreement, including Trump last time.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, with the USMCA.
Right.
Right. But what I have found, so I participated in a federal trade case when I sat on the board of the American Institute for Steel Construction about foreign dumped and subsidized structural steel. China, in its global overcapacity, has distorted the whole world economy on steel, and it was distorting our economy. And President Trump, during his first administration, noted that our steel industry, I'm talking about the raw mills,
sure.
Was producing at less than 80% capacity, which means that that industry is not healthy. And that's when he put in the 301 and the Section 232 to protect the steel mills. So to get to your point, what we found very quickly is that foreign trade partners, whether adversaries or friend, learned how to circumvent that. And what they did was we saw a surge in imports of fabricated structural steel now. That's what I do. You punch a hole, you weld a plate onto the steel. Now it comes under a different import code, and it circumvents the tariffs that were put in to protect one industry. So we need to be able to really look at this, and that's why I say the tariffs should be surgically applied once the trade agreements are.
Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so you are pro tariffs. I mean, they haven't. I mean, obviously you read the other side where the soybean farmers are hurting, and we collect the tariffs, and we have to basically give those tariffs back to the farmers to subsidize them.
Because there's also been a unfair access to other markets, foreign markets. The farmers have been unfairly affected by lack of access to markets.
Okay. What else? Just going back to New Hampshire in the news is the Merrimack Detention Center. I mean, Trump has one thing, and I think most people would agree that one reason why Biden lost is because the border was not in control, and Trump, whether you like him or not, he's shut down the border. I think most people agree. The detention centers and what's happened with ICE is obviously very controversial. In Merrimack here, I mean, there was a little miscommunication, I guess, between the feds and Governor Ayotte, and the detention center is not going to go into Merrimack, and I think people in Merrimack, both Republicans and Democrats, are happy with that. So what do you think about the detention centers in New Hampshire? Would you be receptive to having a detention center somewhere in New Hampshire?
So President Trump, as you noted, was overwhelmingly elected to deal with the immigration issue. And I think people wanted to see it more sterilized, a more sterilized version of deportation. They didn't want to see what we saw in Minnesota, right? I think that's really upset people. If we allow the correctional system, the judicial system, law enforcement to work with ICE to make it a much more smooth transition of handing off criminal illegal aliens who have been apprehended, and then we can deport them. New Hampshire has done it well. They have deportees or people who are cited for deportation in the Berlin prison. in some of the jails. And they've been there for, not the same people for a long time, but we've been dealing with deportees for a while in our jails and prison system. We need to be able to do that. We can't have a system where we want to have deportation and then everyone say, not in my backyard. You know, I think we have to be open to the idea of, is there a possibility of having a deportation center in New Hampshire? But the communication is what broke down. And that's really hurt the whole process, I think. We need to have a more open communication between the federal and the state on what the plans are and having input in how it affects the state.
Now, Obama deported, you know, he was called the deporter-in-chief, actually. Right. So he deported, I think, like 3 million people in his 8 years. Trump in his first 4 years deported like 1.5, so he was on that same schedule. And I don't know how many we've deported now, but back then, under the first Trump administration or Obama, people didn't know about it. I mean, basically regular people. So what happened? Like what, I mean, outside we have the excesses and nobody likes to see anybody being shot like in Minnesota, but why is there such a backlash against what's going on now?
So I believe the number is 2.5 that have been deported, but 1.9 have been self-deported under President Trump, and then another 600 have been physically deported. And I think a lot of it has to do with two things. One, there was a big push to get illegal immigrants in here because it then give them hopefully a pathway. I disagree with the pathway, but a pathway so that they can vote. They give them a driver's license, then they can vote. That changes the demographics of the voting population. It also changes the balance of power at the DC. So I think that is one piece of it, and the Democrats don't want to give that up. The other piece is there truly is a Trump derangement syndrome, and I don't care if he found the cure for cancer. They would disagree with him, and I think that's part of it. Then the third piece is they wanted a more sterilized view of deportation, and because the media has focused so much on the unfortunate issues that happened in Minnesota, that has really helped. But they didn't focus as much. Where was the compassion for the American citizens who have been deeply, deeply hurt by this? Jocelyn Nungaard, Rachel Morin. We heard the stories at the State of the Union. I mean, Irina, that young woman from Ukraine. Where was the outcry for that?
Well, there's always, you know, I'm obviously not here to debate with you, but there are always incidents that happen regardless, right? I mean, it's just the way it works. I mean, I think immigrants, I mean, statistics show that basically, legal or illegal, there's only like 15% of the people who have been deported are actually criminals. So the other side of that is, though, and I think this is why people are upset with it outside of the shootings, which I think you agree is probably excess, right? The shootings in Minnesota.
Well, we haven't really heard the outcome of it, right?
Right.
Of the investigation. So I'll leave that to the experts to figure that one out.
Okay. When you saw the video, did it look okay to you? Like when they shot good?
Well, it did look like she was using her vehicle. So I'm going to let the experts judge that, because we're not going to debate that here.
Okay. Yeah. So speaking of, like, when you talk about the elections, the president on these at the State of the Union basically said the Democrats, the only way they could win is to steal the election in 2026. And so what do you think about that?
In 26?
Yeah. I mean, he called them crazy, which is fine. That's just normal rhetoric. The Democrats are crazy.
At the State of the Union?
Yeah.
Well, you have to understand, when somebody says, everyone stand up, who believes that the number one job of the federal government is to protect American citizens over illegal immigrants, and all the Democrats sit down. That does seem a little crazy. When they are here, they are elected to take care of their citizenship, their citizenry. I agree.
Now, Trump is still saying the 2020 election was stolen. Do you agree with that?
The 2020, well, they're still looking for stuff down in Georgia, my understanding, right? They're still looking for proof.
So you don't think the election was stolen? You do think it was stolen?
I am saying that there have been some discrepancies in that.
So so you do think it was stolen? I guess I'm trying to get a yes or no.
Yeah, you know, I don't have a definite answer for you.
I mean, in
do
Georgia,
say
as
there
you
were
know.
some discrepancies that we need to really make sure, because election integrity is important.
Right, I'm just asking
If we don't have election integrity, right, then we are at the mercy of outside forces that could manipulate our elections. We need to have election integrity.
You don't think there's election integrity?
I think the SAVE Act is vital. And the fact that none of the federal delegation of New Hampshire voted for it is a crime. You need to improve
I'm going to go back to
citizenship,
220.
and you need to.
And you know, in Georgia, they counted the election, the results 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Republicans did it, Democrats did it. So I think everybody's pretty certain that those results were correct. So I guess I'm just asking you a basic question: if you think the 220 election was stolen,
I'm moving
yes
on
or
to
no?
I'm saying there were some discrepancies there that need to be addressed, and the SAVE Act will be a good step towards that. So we need to pass the SAVE Act.
So I'm going to take that you think the election was stolen. I mean, either it is or it isn't. But okay. Now the other thing, in terms of current issues, you know, the president said in the State of the Union, like the economy is roaring like it's never been before. You know, he says the best economy we've ever had. But poll numbers say the opposite, actually. I mean, he's underwater in his poll numbers, and particularly on the economy. How do you square that, the fact that he's saying it's the best economy we've ever had, and at least by the poll numbers, people don't feel that?
So GDP is rising, wages are rising, inflation is coming down. It takes people, though, a while to feel that impact. So you can't stop what had happened under the Biden administration with the out-of-control inflation and wages not maintaining it, and stop it on a dime. It's going to take some time for people to feel and trust that the economy is improving. But all the indices are pointing in the right direction.
Well, I'm not sure that's true. I mean, when is that when Biden, in 2024, the inflation, now that certainly in 2021 and 22, the inflation was out of control. And I think a lot of people would blame, rightly so, was the Biden PPP money, the second round of the PPP money. We had way too much money floating around chasing too few goods, classic inflation. But in 2024, the inflation rate was like 2.6. I think in last year was about the same. So, I mean, Trump really took over with the inflation at the same rate that it is today.
We had, over the 3-4 years with Biden, the inflation went up almost 20%, right, over the time. And wages did not match. People really fell behind. Credit card debt rised. People really were hurting. And prices went up. We need to give that time to...
Give what time, though? I mean, what are the policies?
Yeah, so we got to get wages up.
Okay, but job growth is slowing, right? Job growth was slowest in 2025 than the last 2 or 3 years. The stock market didn't do as well in 2025.
Stock market's doing well.
No, it's believe me, I appreciate it's doing well. It just didn't do as well under the last 2 years under Joe Biden.
Under Joe Biden, it didn't do well.
No, it did. In 2023, it went up 25%. 2024, it went up 25%. I think last year
It's
went
still
up
going up.
It's still going up. I'm just saying is that the direction isn't going, I mean, by the numbers, I'm just going by what I read in the Wall Street Journal, is that the numbers aren't showing that.
The economy is going in the right direction. We need to get wages up by growing manufacturing, by growing opportunity. We get wages up. We have housing limitations. I have a friend who has property in Nashua, a welcoming city in New Hampshire, and 8 to 10% of the property their tenants have been deported, okay? That's housing availability for Americans who have paid into the system. We need to take care of people who have paid into the system. We need to protect the American worker.
What do you think of and I certainly don't disagree with that. So again, with the State of the Union, I mean, when every president of the State of the Union throws out ideas that are probably not going to go anywhere. I think George Bush wanted to privatize the Social Security system. That didn't go anywhere. Obama wanted to do things like increase the minimum wage to whatever, just things that weren't realistic. After watching the State of the Union, what do you think the vision is for Trump for the last couple of years.
For
the next, I'm sorry, for the next couple of
coming
years.
So I like the fact with the health insurance.
Which is what?
I'm going to say that.
Okay.
Okay. I like the fact with the health insurance is that we allow everyone to have HSAs. We increase transparency in billing. We don't give the subsidies to the insurance companies, but we give them to the individual. We give the power of the consumer to the citizen. Give them the power. They get the money, they get the transparency, they get to make choice. We increase the ability to make buy health insurance across state borders, so we increase competition. Those are really important things that will help drive down costs. We also need, in my view, is we need to get lawyers out of healthcare. We need to stop having
Now,
them
conservatives have been saying those ideas literally for as long as for 10 or 15 years, and none of them have come to fruition. And on the table, as you know now, has been the extension of the extra subsidies for Obamacare.
Mm-hmm.
So the Democrats want to say, okay, fine, we can, whatever, just give us a short-term window or an extra year, an extra 2 years.
No, they wanted 3.
They want to what?
They wanted 3.
Okay, well, 3 years.
Do you know why they want 3?
I'm sure they want to make it permanent.
That's right.
Right. So the question is, though, do you agree that they shouldn't have been extended right now? Because obviously a lot of people are facing, their premiums have gone up a lot.
I don't think that you can just stop something without some period of time for transition. I think the year would have been fine, but we need to get something in place. I absolutely agree. We need to get something in place to take this. And these are not short term, but these are immediate steps that can be done to help address the issue when we get rid of Obamacare. It has caused an increase in health care for everybody. We have not been able to keep our primary care provider. I have a good friend who has a nasty cancer who had to go on the exchange in New Hampshire and had to give up all her doctors in Massachusetts because the exchange doesn't let her go there. So we were fed a bad bill of health, a bad bill of
Bill of
options.
goods.
Yeah, there you go. Bill of goods when we got Obamacare.
Well, the Obamacare, you know, I mean, I wish, certainly Obamacare has helped this company because we have a number of people on Obamacare who have reduced, because I see it as Obamacare doesn't change the health insurance at all. What it does is change the premium because you're still going.
My premiums went up double digits every year. Every year. And I have employees who say to me, and we have a pretty good plan. We have a really good plan, and we pay over 75% of the premiums. Right. I have employees who say to me, I have a benefit I can't afford to use.
No, I think healthcare, there's no question that the cost of healthcare is, you know, out of control, and it affects a lot of people. I guess the counter argument is that the Obamacare, what it did is basically subsidize the premium. It's the same plan.
But not for everybody.
Well, no, you had
My
to qualify.
employees didn't get a subsidy.
Well, I mean, I don't know
I, as an employer, didn't get a subsidy. So who did it help? It didn't help everyone. It wasn't fair across the board, was it?
Well, it depends what your income is, and it depends on how you construct your.
But now, right, since COVID, people have been getting subsidies who shouldn't be, right? You have to admit the limit was not observed. So people with higher incomes who shouldn't have been getting subsidies, who make a hell of a lot more than my employees, were getting subsidies. That's not fair. That's not right, and that's not what it was meant to do.
Okay, fair enough. I want to get to the politics in a minute, but just go over a couple of the things that are in the news now. So Iran, like we got a giant flotilla off out there in the Middle East. One of the issues, there are a couple issues. One is that what's going to happen. I'm curious what you think should happen there. And if you were a congressperson, one thing, even with George Bush in the run-up to the Iraq War, even though it didn't turn out they had no weapons of mass destruction, he was making the case, and he went to Congress. But so far, President Trump hasn't, neither have gone to Congress, or for that matter, articulated to the American public, like, what are we doing? So what do you think? What do you think we're doing there?
I think the fact that Iran is the #1 sponsor of state terror in the world is very concerning. We have allies in the area. We also know that Iran, the regime, was also trying to assassinate Trump, right? So we have some real threats coming from Iran. And to have them have a nuclear weapon, and not just Trump, but many presidents have said, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And if he is trying to negotiate, above all, a settlement to the Iran having a nuclear weapon. But you have to be able to, when you go to a negotiation table, you have to have not just a threat. You have to be able to stand your ground in the negotiation. And I think that's what he's doing. He's showing that he's ready to stand his ground, but he wants to negotiate first.
Okay, now negotiating, now he already, to his credit, in Israel, I mean, they bombed it, I think last July, whenever it was, with those, they took out a lot of the nuclear, and I think the experts say that their capacity right now has been diminished a lot to develop a nuclear weapon. And
I thought I heard just recently that they were close to a nuclear weapon, or a nuclear grade.
Okay, well, there, I guess there's a different opinion. I'm sort of a Wall Street Journal guy, so I read what they say. But how far would we go? Iran is a huge country. I guess I'm asking, do you see?
I don't see boots on the ground at all. I do not see boots on the ground.
All right.
If that's what you're asking.
Okay, good. Okay, let's turn to politics.
Okay.
Do you have any other major issues you'd like to bring up? We talked about elections. We've talked about, I guess the Epstein thing is kind of interesting. Any thoughts on that? Where we're going with that?
There were real victims during the Epstein files, during the Epstein experience, or however you want to put it. There were real victims that need to have their day in court. But there was a whole period of time when the Biden administration had the files, and they didn't release them. They've now been released.
Well, they haven't all been released.
As far as I hear, they've been released. They have been redacted, some of them. They had to be very careful to make sure that some of the victims were not released, and unfortunately that some of the victims' names were released. And now they're going to have to go through and make sure that the people who were accountable.
I mean, you saw the latest thing that came out just the other day against Trump, and the documents that have been that are missing.
No, I have not seen that.
Okay,
so
I won't even bring that one up. But there's a woman who accused her of having sex when she was underage.
Yeah, I haven't seen that, so
okay.
I can't
We'll
even
leave
speak to
away.
that.
Okay, politics. So it's a primary. It's an open. Chris Pappas is running for.
But to speak to that, President Trump is on the record in the Epstein files, having reported to the police down in Palm Beach that Epstein was harassing young women and asked him to get him out of Mar-a-Lago. So that doesn't make sense, that story. So that is in the records.
Okay, yep, we won't go there. I mean, we know that he was mentioned thousands of times. Trump's name is there, and people have been falling. You know, Prince Andrew, you know, all these people, Larry Summers, anybody who's had any connection, it's like six degrees of separation. If you have any connection with them, people are resigning or being forced out.
Well, look at Gene Shaheen has gotten money for Cayman, and Cayman was right there.
So. And what about the Secretary of Commerce? I mean, he said flat out that he didn't have any contact with him in the mid-2000s, and then it turns out he visited his island with his family. I mean, should that not, is that?
I think when people need to look into things. Yes, they do.
So back to the politics at hand. So you're in the primary, and I mean, who else is running? Anthony DiLorenzo is probably is going to be one of your biggest competitors in the primary.
Well, at least his cash will be.
His cash will be, and you say that because, what do you mean? When you say his cash?
Because he can self-fund.
Because he's a wealthy guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So assuming, so how do you, okay, let me ask it this way then. So but he is going to be, we've interviewed him once, and I'm sure he's going to be back during the summer and all that, and once the campaign. I have to remind people that this isn't even happening until September and November.
I
we
know.
have a long way to go.
Way.
But
it'll come quick.
It does come quick. So how are you, or will you separate yourself? I mean, you're a successful person in life. I mean, obviously a lot of experience and a business person. He's got a similar story. He's
very different. You know, I'm in manufacturing, and I've been fighting for the American worker, and I've been working there for 25 years with a proven record of fighting for the American worker and standing up for the American worker and going from state, regional, and national level fighting. And we're in manufacturing. We did not outsource. You know, automotive A lot of it got outsourced, and he sells. I'm in the boots on the ground, blue collar work, where we make things, and that's what's going to save this country, is bringing back manufacturing jobs, increasing our wages and our opportunity for the American dream for the next generation.
So that sounds like it's going to be your theme, or is your theme.
It is my theme.
It is your theme.
It's my life.
It's your life. So are there any other issues you think you would be a little more progressive with against DiLorenzo? I mean, because you're both, I mean, you know, it's the same thing in the Democrats.
So there's a big difference between
what's the
Anthony
difference?
and myself in immigration.
Okay.
Okay. I believe in shutting down the borders. I believe in deportation, and I believe that we need to do this. My understanding from Anthony in some of his interviews, he says we need to have more compassion, and he thinks that there should be a pathway for people who are here. That he has been said that we allowed them to come in, we can't deport them, and if they're working, they should be allowed to stay. That's a big difference between Anthony and myself. I believe that you came here illegally, you broke our laws just coming over the border, and we need to deport. Nobody has been screened. We don't know who is here, and we need to make sure that
And what about
Americans are safe.
the old Dreamers Act and all that? What about
You know, the
people?
Dreamers are the ones who really got hurt the most with Biden, because Biden's unbridled immigration, illegal immigration, now the Dreamers are all put into that same category. He hurt them the most.
Okay, that's fair enough. I mean, we know that, I mean, really, in fact, I was looking at, in preparing this, looking at other State of the Unions, and even George Bush, 20 years ago, was talking about reform. So
There is things we can do for legal immigration reform. So I brought somebody in from overseas, and what I learned is that you have to we have quotas from certain countries that I've never even heard of. You have to have a bachelor's degree or equivalent. It's a year process. It's a lottery system. Let's make some changes that can be effective almost immediately that would help us, because we do want immigrants. Immigrants built this country, right? But we want them to come here the right way, the legal way. We want them to be screened. We want them to be part of our community. So instead of a bachelor's degree, let's make it skill-based. My best welder is from Egypt. It took him over a year to get a visa. His wife came here a year before him. He didn't even see her for a year, because as a man from Africa, it's harder to get a visa. He finally came here. I look at him every day. He's a gentleman. He's an American. He got to become an American citizen. He invited me to his naturalization ceremony. I was so honored. I look at him and I say, Michael, I'd take 10 of you. He was a welder in Alexandria in the shipbuilding. He's a true asset. I can't get them. They don't have bachelor's degrees. You know, let's make it skill-based. Let's make it from countries who like us. Let's make it easier for those people who want to come here. Unfortunately, because of all the illegal immigration, they jumped the line. Now they're going to have to be vetted through the courts, and that puts all the people who have been waiting, doing it the right way, further back in the line. And that's not right.
Okay, but I think there are different processes. I mean, there's the ones that, I mean, the ones who are going through the legal process to become citizens, the visas, that still goes on. I mean, it still goes on. My son is married to a Brazilian woman, and she just got a spousal visa. It took a year, but she did it. That's the legal way to do it.
But it's slowing down the system. My mother was also Brazilian, so
nice.
Very nice.
Ah, all right, there you go.
Great food.
They just speak a funny language, that's all.
Portuguese.
Is tough. It's tough. Okay, so you get through the primary, and I mean, who are you going to face? And you know, Stephanie Shaheen is, I guess, leading in the polls.
She's leading the polls. I'm not sure if people know which Shaheen they're voting for, so I'm not sure how accurate the polls are. But right now, she is ahead.
She has name recognition.
She has name recognition. Maura and I believe Carly have outraised her, fundraising-wise.
Okay.
So,
Maura Sullivan, yeah. And so I assume, you know, and the politics in the primary is always different for both sides in the primaries, because you generally, on both sides, they tend to go to the more extreme part of their own party. And then once you get in the general election, you know, you also want to, you're soliciting independent voters and people more in the middle. So I guess when you get to the primary, I think, are you looking forward to a endorsement by Trump, or do you know who he's going to endorse in the primary? Do you have any idea?
No, and it's so early. It's so early in our process, and we are such a late primary, and he's got other states that he's got to look at. I don't think he's going to look at New Hampshire right away.
Yeah. But I assume that, assuming you get through the primary, that you're going to look forward to his endorsement.
You know, he's the head of our party.
Right.
And I do agree with much of his policy. I do support his stance. I stand with him. It would be an honor.
Okay. Because, you know, that is a little bit of a double right now, and you never know. It's a long time till September and November, but he's underwater in his polls. So that's, you know, I think
I think people, you know, he said he would address the economy and security and stability in the world. And I think there was a little bit of an unrealistic expectation that would be immediate. Things take time to change. He has put into action many policies that will address those issues. It just takes time for them to come to fruition, and people just need to be a little bit more
patient.
Thank you very much. I was going to say conscious, patient, and let it play out.
Okay, that's fair enough. I think that's all I have. I do want to ask you about the New Hampshire politics, and why do you think? And this has been going on for years now. But I mean, our state officials, whether it's the legislature, executive council, governor, of course, all Republican, and our federal delegation is all Democrat. Like, how do you account for that?
That's a good question. And I think it's because we have become a purple state. You know, we have 30% Democrat, 30% Republican, and 40% Independent. And I think it's all about candidate choice and being able to really make that message resonate with the individuals. But it has to be one that hits both independents and, on my side, independents and Republicans, because nobody's going to be able to win a general if you're just strictly independent, Republican or strictly dependent.
You think the state's becoming, I mean, we're purple, you just said it. Do you think we're purple going to red, or you think we're purple going to blue?
So my understanding is we've actually increased our numbers of registered Republicans. So my hope is we're purple going red.
Okay, very good. Hollie, I think I'm out of questions.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity.
And I appreciate you being here. And it is a long campaign season. We'll see you later in the year, and we can do it again.
And if people want, they can check me out at holliefromnewhampshire.com. I would appreciate that.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you.